Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the corrective movement that Bitcoin has been witnessing over the last 24 hours, ever since we saw Bitcoin hit $118,000. Bitcoin has had a considerable correction down to around $115,000, and right now, we find ourselves at a crossroads. We have a very strong uptrending level of support that if Bitcoin can hold, will most likely lead Bitcoin back to all-time high within just the next couple of weeks. However, if this uptrend that we're going to discuss breaks, that does, however, lead us into uncharted territory that would be very difficult to predict what would happen next. So, without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Bitcoin right now is trading at $115,580, and as you can see, a major sell-side action has taken place over the last 24 hours. We rallied up to $118,000 by September the 17th, exactly as we were calling for last week. That said, Bitcoin rejected at 118, just like we warned about last Tuesday, about 11 days ago, because it is a very strong level of resistance. You see, $124,500 is our all-time high, $107,000 is our local low down here, and so the Fibonacci retracement for this chart shows up right about here at $118,000. $118,000 then is a very important level because it is the Fibonacci golden pocket, 0.618 to 0.65. Bitcoin has to break through this, and if it does, then that more or less confirms that we're going into a massive uptrend. Most likely we'll be returning back to all-time high and beyond. However, if we do not see Bitcoin break through the 0.618 Fibonacci extension level, then that means that a considerable sell-side action could be taking place. That's why what happens this weekend is going to be so incredibly decisive for one of three reasons. First and foremost, it's going to happen on the weekend. If we see large movement come this weekend, which we most likely will, whether it's bullish or bearish, it will almost certainly create a CME futures gap, which will need to be filled. On the one hand, that means that if Bitcoin has a major corrective movement over the weekend, dropping down to 114 or 112, then that would leave us with a large CME futures gap that would need to be filled moving into next week and the week following, which would actually be a bullish setup. So a short-term bearish setup could be a longer-term bullish setup. On the other hand, if Bitcoin does break above $118,000 over the course of this weekend, then that would most likely leave a gap down here, which would be an Achilles heel to a major rally, which would mean that Bitcoin would need to have a correction. So with all of that said, if Bitcoin does have a major breakout this weekend, we're going to need to be watching out for possible CME futures gaps. Second reason that this is important is because our resistance is the 0.618 Fibonacci level. 0.618 to 0.65 is the Fibonacci golden pocket, and traditionally when you fail to break through the Fibonacci golden pocket, it means that the rally is a non-starter and it's failed. The best way that I can explain this would actually be by going back to the two bull markets ago, two bear markets ago, over here in 2018. What we saw happen time and time again is that Bitcoin would rally up to a Fibonacci level and then reject off of it. For example, this rally, we rallied up to 0.382 and we rejected off of it. If you move forward here, this rally right here, we rallied up to, as you can see, the 0.618 Fibonacci extension level. This is a great analogy for what we're talking about. You know, one of the reasons that you watch this channel and why you should totally subscribe is because I've been doing technical analysis on the Bitcoin market for almost a decade now, virtually every single day. There's almost 7,000 pieces of content on this channel in our catalog of content on Bitcoin. And so I can go back in my mind and say, where can I think of a time that I've seen this happen before? And this is an example. This just came to me. This was April and May of 2018. Bitcoin was trying to bounce up here. It rallied up to $12,000. We had a corrective movement, and then we bounced and we rallied up to the 0.618 to 0.65 Fibonacci golden pocket. We rejected, and as you can see, we actually ended up putting in a lower low. So this is why this movement that we're seeing happen right here is so important. And by the way, if you scrub forward here, it actually happened more than once. It also ended up happening right here. We rallied up to the 0.618 Fibonacci golden pocket. Boom. We rejected off of it. If I recall, I think it actually happened a third time too. We were doing daily technical analysis back here. We didn't hardly get up to the 0.618 here, Fibonacci golden pocket. There was a $7,500 we rejected. And of course, those three rejections, time after time after time again, once here, a second time here, and a third time here, were the precipitous the preceding movements that led Bitcoin to go through this major correction down to $3,000. So this is something that is a bit concerning to me right now, is that here on the second point that I want to make today is that if Bitcoin does not get through the 0.618 Fibonacci golden pocket, that could mean that Bitcoin's going to go through a very large corrective movement, possibly even below 107. So we need to see whether or not Bitcoin can get above 0.618. And if it can't, that could end up being very, very, very bad news for the bulls indeed. The good news is the fundamentals are extremely bullish. So I highly doubt that we would be seeing a low lower than 107 anytime soon, because gold and the stock market are ripping right now. Now, the third point I want to make here is this uptrend. For any of you guys that are traders, for example, if you're in the first cohort trading group over here, we've got a bunch of people over here doing winning trades. You can see we have a 26% profit, 150% profit, 108% profit, 181% profit, 139, 227, 200, etc. For all of our traders over here, you will recognize this line right here. This is called a safety line. We had a bearish safety line for the shorts right back over here. And when that bearish safety line broke, and especially when we back tested it and bounced here, this was the beginning of this uptrend. Now the same thing has formed as support. That was the bearish safety line, and when it broke, that was your sign to exit your short trades. Right now, we have a bullish safety line, in other words, this uptrending level of support here, and we also happen to have support convergent right here on the 0.5 Fibonacci level here at $116,000. In other words, if this zone between 115 to 116 breaks, then that means that we're going to drop most likely down to at least, I would say, $112,000, that big even safety level of support that we saw tested back here in the beginning of August, and also back here as resistance when it was at the all-time high. We'll just go ahead and draw a horizontal line right here. So remember, our first point here today is that if we have a breakout this weekend, it's going to lead to a CME futures gap that you need to pay attention to. Number two, we need to break through the 0.618 Fibonacci level, and if we don't, that will be catastrophic for the market unless the fundamentals come in to save the day because of all these rate cuts that are coming in. If it weren't for that, I would say that Bitcoin would probably return back to $100,000 if we reject here. The fundamentals might save the day and bring us back to all-time high, however. And the third point is, if we break this uptrending level of support, a correction back down to $112,000 would be likely. So this is where the setup comes in. This gives you a short trade opportunity and a long trade opportunity. If we break the bearish safety line, the bullish, if we have a bearish break below the bullish safety line, the uptrending level of support, that would be a short entry with a take profit down here around $112,000. That short position would probably look something like this. We would want to have a very conservative stop loss, probably taking into account the 4-hourly exponential moving average here, maybe even the 8-hourly exponential moving average. I think that would probably be better. The 8-hour 20 exponential moving average, using that as our stop loss. Our entry we'd probably want to put down here around $115,000, probably around 114.9, and then we'd want to put our exit down here around 112.10 or so on this short. This would give you a risk to reward ratio of roughly 3x, and it would be a trade based off of this uptrend breaking, along with the fact that it would most likely be a short-lived correction because, once again, the fundamentals are absolutely booming right now for the Bitcoin market. Any kind of bearishness is likely to be short-lived as a result of the massive amount of bullishness in the market right now, and so you wouldn't want to be holding on to any kind of short trades for too long. On the other hand, the next most obvious trade is that if Bitcoin does break up here above the Fibonacci golden pocket, then you're going to want to enter into a long trade and exit right before the all-time high. After that point in time, then you can enter into another long trade as the all-time high breaks. But of course, you're going to want to give it some time before you do that. This next trade would be pretty simple to enter into. You'd probably put an entry right here around 118.6, 118.7, somewhere in that range. Put an exit right here around like 117.7 and a take profit right at, I'd say, probably 123.9. These are some excellent setups that are more likely than not going to profit you. Make sure that you're a little bit more aggressive on the bullish trade than on the bearish trade because, of course, the short trade right now, you're counter trading the primary movement, which is a bull market, so you want to be very, very careful with short trades. But if you're conservative and take profits early, maybe even earlier than down here, maybe even up here at like 113 or so, then you'll probably do pretty well. This long trade, on the other hand, if we start to rip above $118,000 and break the Fibonacci golden pocket, all bets are off. I'm basically going to give you a guarantee that we're going back to all-time high at that point in time, unless some kind of major black swan event takes place. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more technical analysis like this, up to the minute, not just from myself, but from the rest of our community, then I highly encourage you to check out our Discord server. This is called the First Cohort Discord server, and we've got a ton of people over here in the First Cohort trading group doing technical analysis every single day. For example, here is our Bitcoin technical analysis group. Lots of amazing technical analysis exclusively on Bitcoin in this in this chat. We've got one for Ethereum over here too. Lots of fantastic technical analysis being posted by everyone. Lots of altcoin technical analysis, and a lot of people are also doing fundamental analysis over here. You've got economic calendars, you've got, you know, altcoin season index, fear and greed, all kinds of different things, the 4-year halving cycles, all kinds of different fundamental analysis going on over here. And if you want to get in, all you got to do is sign up for 2bit with the link in the description box down below, deposit $100 and send a screenshot of your $100 deposit to MalachiPats@CryptoJeb.com with the link in the description box down below. 2bit is my favorite exchange. I love it. It's where I'm doing all of my trading. The fees are low. The interface is great. The charting is really simple. It's so easy to enter into trades and exit out of trades. It's got a lot of very complex tools that are made very simple. The user interface, the UI UX, user interface, user experience is, in my opinion, second to none. It's absolutely fantastic, which is important when you're trying to jump in and out of trades quickly, when you're trying to do trade planning. So if you sign up for 2bit, our exchange, deposit $100 and tell me that that's where you're going to be doing your trading, I don't know why you would trade anywhere else, then you will be getting access to the first cohort for free for a year. Send Malachi Pats an email, MalachiPats@CryptoJeb.com, and he will give you a 1-year free coupon code to join the teachable version of the first cohort to get the invite link to the Discord server. Also, by the way, I want to give a big shout out to Stampseed, who is one of the sponsors of our channel. These little titanium cards right here are phenomenal. So big shout out to Stampseed. If you're trying to self-custody your Bitcoin, highly recommend them. I mean, for what other, I mean, look at that. I got like a little miniature Thor's hammer here. Make sure to check out Stampseed if you're trying to protect your seed phrases from fire, because that is a very important part of self-custody. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this piece of content with somebody else that you would think it would find. Share this piece of content with somebody else that you think would find it valuable. Sorry, we have a 3-week-old baby, so not sleeping very well. And before I go, I love you very much. I'm very excited to see you succeed. And I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.